Blah, 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 blah. Spoilers. Okay. Alright, so, generally, Borderlands 3 is a pretty well-written game, but there is one scene that was written, Okay, so this scene is just absolutely terrible, and most fans generally agree with that. But why is it terrible? Outside of Gearbox killing my main in Borderlands 2, that is. A lot of reasons. But I'll just be going over the main reasons, citing sources where I can to back up my claims. If I were to summarize this whole scene in one word, it'd be convenient. We all now know that the whole reason Maya died was so Troy could get her powers, and then eventually Ava, because a siren has to be dead in order for her powers to be truly inherited by a new successor. Robert Wood of StandoutBooks.com says, character deaths ring untrue when it is apparent to the reader that the character is only in the story to die. This most often happens when the author wants to justify a threat, including a character for the first quarter of a novel just so they can be killed by the primary antagonist. This is the exact problem of the scene. Maya's whole role in Borderlands 3 was to die, so Troy and then Ava could get her powers, and they made her death be the most unfulfilling and generally laziest thing they possibly could have. Ava was stupidly, but conveniently, there so she'd get in the way, and Maya would, of course, die trying to protect her. Troy can conveniently leech from any siren, but only sirens, unlike Tyreen who can leech from anyone, which is never brought up or relevant again. And when Troy leeches a siren that's not Tyreen, it conveniently kills her, literally turning her into ash. Even though that didn't happen when Tyreen leeched Lilith, because for Troy, it was convenient for the scene. So they needed an easy way for Maya to die, and they wanted an easy way for Troy to get Maya's powers. If that was their goal, then they definitely succeeded. The scene was easy and convenient, but not good or believable, which is a huge problem. Outside of Troy and eventually Ava getting Maya's powers, Maya's death has little to no impact on any of the characters in the game. Ava barely cries at the death of her mentor. Lilith and the Crimson Raiders barely care at all. It's really more of a, well, she's dead. That kinda sucks. Oh well, back to the mission. And no character has growth, learns, or develops from Maya's death. Her death basically held no weight or impact. Ava doesn't do any self-reflecting, thinking that maybe Maya's death was her fault, which it was at least 70% her fault, by the way. In fact, she blames Lilith for Maya's death, which is just absolutely irrational and stupid. It's probably just Gearbox's bad attempt at writing an emotional young girl. Instead of feeling sadness, which an important character's death should bring, it only invokes the feeling of anger at Ava and the other characters by their inability to care. Again, a huge problem.
Cool if I take this. Thanks, later.
We all knew this was coming, and I know I touched on this some in the other sections, but Ava really ruins the whole dynamic of the scene. Robert Woods also says, the duration and manner of your character's death depends on the purpose of their death. Long deaths can be tedious or heartrending. Sudden deaths, shocking or laughable. The difference between a successful character death and one lacking impact is a single emotion. And guess what? The only emotion Ava invokes is anger, but not at the twins, at her. Ava wasn't supposed to be there. Ava wouldn't shut up. Ava didn't run because she didn't listen to Maya. Ava got in the way. Maya died, basically because of Ava. Instead of being mad at the Calypsos for actually killing Maya, we're instead mad at Ava because she got in the frickin' way. Thanks to Ava, there was no battle, no catharsis, and no heroic death for Maya. And remember, Gearbox is trying to make Ava an up-and-coming, important, probably main character in the series. And they successfully made everyone hate her. Just why? Alright, taking all of this into account, I've tasked myself with rewriting this shit show of a scene. Keep in mind, I'm not actually a writer. I'm just showing an example of what the scene could have been if Gearbox, tried. That being said, I'm going to only include the characters that were originally there, which means that the Vault Hunters are still gun-slugging it up in the vault, and Krieg is still nowhere to be seen, which he totally should have been there, by the way. But that's a whole other discussion, and probably video, for another day. So, we have Maya, the twins, and yes, even Ava. Using only the same characters, I'm gonna try to fix all the huge flaws that I talked about. The goals are that we get mad at the Calypsos, we sympathize with Ava for losing her mentor, and Maya's death holds weight. Alright, let's set the scene. Unlike in the original version, here, Maya, Troy, and Tyreen are all outside the Rampager's vault, alone. The three break out into a fight just as Ava arrives at the scene. Overwhelmed by the intensity of the battle between the sirens, Ava takes cover behind some wreckage from the Rampager battle. She peeks out just enough to be able to watch the storm of bullets and siren powers. Ava, for the first time in her life, isn't sure of what to do. Normally, she'd be the first one to jump into a fight head first, acting now and thinking later. This fight, however, was different from all the others. The Calypsos aren't your run-of-the-mill back-alley thugs, or even trained soldiers. They're sirens, the strongest people alive in all of the 6 galaxies. She's conflicted, not knowing whether to help Maya or stay out of her way.
Oh no! Maya! I need to help her. But they're sirens. They could kill me. They would kill me. But Maya can't fight both of them by herself.
Soon, the tide begins to sway in the battle. It's clear that one-on-one, Maya could have beaten either of them. However, this wasn't a fair fight. The two combined eventually overpower Maya, and she lays on the ground defeated. Finally, Ava's legs move freely as she sprints towards her mentor.
Maya!
And here I thought we were alone. Ava is kneeling over Maya. It's clear that her wounds are fatal.
Ava, what are you doing here? I told you to stay in the...
No. I'm sorry.
You never did like listening to me, but just this one time.
Maya winces in pain. The ground beneath her is quickly puddling with blood.
Ava, listen to me. You have to get out of here. You have to become the great vault hunter that I know you can be.
I will. I promise.
Good.
Oh my god! Will you just shut up already?
Tyreen puts her hand on Maya's face and leeches her powers. The strain on Maya's already weak body is too much. Her tattoos fade, along with the remaining color in her face, and she lays there, totally motionless, lifeless.
No!
Ava, still sobbing, hugs Maya's lifeless corpse.
Oh yeah! I thought having 2 sirens' powers was good, but 3? I feel like a god already!
Damn! We've taken out 2 sirens? Ha ha! Man! We are on a roll, sis! Ava, infuriated by the Calypso's remark, lets out a yell and whips out her SMG, barrel pointed at Troy. Hey, what are you pointing that gun at me for? You're just as guilty as we are.
What the hell are you talking about? Maya is dead because of you assholes!
Yeah? And what did you do to stop it? You were watching the whole time, weren't you? Yeah. I bet you saw the whole damned thing. You saw us gang up on your little siren friend, and you knew it wasn't a fair fight. But yet, there you were, doing absolutely nothing. Instead of helping her and making it an even playing field, you let us do what we did. Hell, if you would have jumped in, maybe it'd be us on the ground instead of her. Instead of doing literally anything to help her, you just watched. And now you want to play vigilante. If that's your plan, after you shoot us, you better turn that gun right around and pull that damn trigger.
I wanted to, but there was nothing I could.
Sure you did, kiddo. But you didn't. And that makes you a hypocrite. And a coward. You disgust me. Ava slowly lowers her SMG. It doesn't weigh more than a few pounds, but at that moment, it felt impossibly heavy. Her grip weakens, and it falls to the ground. That's what I thought. Come on, Ty. I'm done here. Tyreen approaches Ava and puts her hand on Ava's shoulder.
Oh, don't feel bad, kid. Everyone makes mistakes. It's just yours means you have a dead friend, and we have her powers!
The twins teleport out of the room, leaving a broken, sobbing Ava with what remains of her mentor. And scene. As you can tell, I changed the scene quite a bit. So let's go over what I changed and why I changed it. The biggest change I made by far would be Ava, because, oh man, did she need it. I wanted to give her a new conflict to face. For the first time in her life, she was unsure of whether or not to fight. Sirens really are on a whole nother level than Ava, and she knew that. Maybe she would have been rash if she were there before the fight started, like she was in the original. but actually seeing everyone's strength firsthand made her second guess herself, a conflict with herself. The Calypsos knew that she struggled to act, so they enjoyed making Ava believe that Maya died due to her inaction. Did the Calypsos actually believe it? Not for a second. They just thought it'd be way more fun making Ava believe that, rather than just outright killing her. This would accentuate how sick and twisted the villains actually are. They knew Ava was emotionally vulnerable from losing Maya, so they knew they could manipulate her, just for the fun of it. Ava would struggle throughout the rest of the game with this. There'd be a voice in the back of her head constantly telling her that she's a coward and that there's blood on her hands. That's a lot for any young person to handle. This would cause many of us to feel bad for Ava and actually be pissed at the Calypsos, which is exactly what this scene should have done. I also wanted to change Maya's last words with Ava. I don't know about you guys, but I got real tired of Maya spamming the phrase, "when you're ready." So I gave Maya and Ava a little more screen time before Maya inevitably died. Maya telling Ava that she wants her to be a great vault hunter sets up the theming for Ava. Plus, Ava would struggle believing that she can keep her promise to Maya since she thinks that she killed Maya. After all, how can she be a great vault hunter if she couldn't even save the person closest to her? Again, more conflict for Ava to battle. The Calypsos. So, I wanted them to be ruthless and beat Maya in what they know isn't a fair fight. To those of you wondering how they actually defeat Maya, even 2-on-1, well, to save time, I'm posting my theory in a pinned comment in the description, cause this video is already way too long. Anyways, I took out Troy leeching Maya's powers because that didn't add anything to the story but it just being convenient. To me, it makes way more sense for Tyreen to take Maya's powers. She and her brother argue over Tyreen having 3 Sirens' powers, and she eventually and reluctantly gives Maya's phase lock to Troy, so the story later in the game would remain unchanged. Plus, that would add some interesting extra tension between the twins. And that's about it. Hopefully this video helps cement why the original scene was so frickin' awful, and gives you an idea of what the scene could have been. Again, this is someone who's not even a writer, versus Borderlands 3's whole team of writers. I'm just saying. So, do you think I did a good job rewriting the scene? What would you have changed if you could rewrite Maya's death scene? Are there any other scenes from Borderlands 3 or anything else you want me to try to rewrite? Let me know. If you liked the video, make sure to phase it a like and lock in a subscription. Ha ha! I'm sorry.